Hello, everyone.
Hi, Jeff. Jeff's coming to us from Massachusetts. He's part of our Lunch and
Awesome.
Learn team,
How's
Yeah.
it going, guys?
and he's a
Good.
self-advocate for people with autism, and he's been a huge resource for far beyond our community for people with autism and understanding neurodiversity.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We also have Jip, who's joining us from Kansas. Hi, Jip.
Hi, Jeff.
He's joined us in a few times. And then two other moms also. I'm just going to add people as they come in. And we have about 12 people who signed up to register for today. And of course, we are recording this, so we will post it on our YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, Terrence is here.
Hi, Terrence. Gosh, we haven't seen you in a long time.
I know.
Oh, it's Tamar and Thomas. Oh
Hi, Tamara.
my God. Hi, you
I'm sorry, I have to bespoil the air with my hideous countenance.
guys. Stop, Thomas. So good to see you.
Thomas went to the book signing yesterday and he's gonna show me the book right now. Exciting. I want to learn more about the author.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna love her. I thought, did you say Terrence was on here or Thomas is on here?
Both Terrence and Thomas.
Oh,
Terrence.
I was getting so confused because I saw Thomas yesterday and I'm like, but I love seeing you on here. I'm so glad you made it, Thomas.
Oh, yes, just heard about it this morning.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah, that
Terrence.
was a great event in La Jolla yesterday.
Oh, yes, and my friend, Mr. Buzzy, really
Yeah.
appreciated it as well. He had a
Oh,
brother who was on the spectrum, and he passed
oh,
away when he was 37. And apparently, he was so beloved by the people at the airport where he worked that 80 people took off work at the day of his funeral just to say goodbye.
oh. What airport did he work at?
I do not know. I'd have to ask him again.
Interesting. I would love to know. That's beautiful.
Mhm. Hi, Terrence. Can you say hi? It's
Oh, hello.
Terrence, I miss you. Where are you? I can't see you.
Yeah, I was busy taking this final semester for this spring semester because I've been studying real hard on music theory composition too because I recently got accepted to Berklee College of Music.
Good for you.
And right now I just got a B on that class. And right now I'm taking the summer off.
Oh, good. Well, I'm so proud of you. That's the Ivy League music school. That's like the premier where all the
Berklee College
famous
of
people
Music.
went. Yeah. I'm so proud of you, Terrence. It's
Oh,
so nice
thanks.
to see you.
Good to see you too.
Oh, okay. Terrence, oh my God, it's so good to see you. It's been so Terrence used to join all of our lunch and learns during the pandemic. And so it's like our OG people. I love it. OG and new people. Well, welcome back. And I'll
Thanks.
go ahead and share my screen. Hold on one sec. And do a little Zoom rule refresher for those of you who are returning or if you're new. We have a couple Zoom rules. Okay. So welcome to our weekly Lunch and Learn. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking. We recommend speaker view for presentation. Video sharing is optional, though we'd love to see all your smiling faces. And we take this time out of the week every week since the pandemic, March 2020, we've been doing these. And it's a time for us to really connect with our guest speakers, with each other. So welcome to all of our new people. And we are really encourage you to type any questions or comments during the presentation into the chat. We will have a Q&A at the end as well, where you can unmute yourself and ask any questions, or you can type them in the chat and I'll be moderating that and can read your question for you. But now is the time for us to really get to know each other and connect. So a quick update from Autism Tree. Since January 1st of this year, we've already intake 433 brand new families into our Autism Tree family, which is a record for us. All of last year, January through December, we did 556 intakes. So we are already at like 90% of that, or 80% of that, and we're only a little bit over halfway of the year. So welcome to all of our new families. We're so happy for everybody to join. We do offer now 20 programs. 9 are currently in person, 7 are hybrid, and 4 are virtual. I just redid the numbers, so I wanted to, there's lots of options for people who are in San Diego County and outside of San Diego County to join during our hybrid and virtual programs. These are throughout the year. And we have 11 events coming up for between now and the end of July. They'll always check back to our social media for all of our updated announcements. We constantly post every single week new events that we're doing. Events that are happening this week. Besides our Lunch and Learn right now, we have our virtual coding workshop, which is really popular this Saturday at 10 a.m. It is on Zoom and it happens once a month. We also have our Project Sunshine teleplay workshop. We love partnering with Project Sunshine also this Saturday, and it's right after at 11 a.m. on Zoom in partnership with UC Riverside Project Sunshine chapter, as well as our adaptive dance class, which happens every single week. We do ages 5 through 10 and 11 through 18 alternating weeks. So this week it is 5 through 10, and that will happen at 12 p.m. At Tap Fever Studios in Pacific Beach if you're in San Diego. And you can also join online via Google Meet as well for any of those classes. So that will be happening this week. And then we have 537 videos now on our YouTube channel. So thank you to all of our volunteers. I still have volunteers sending me videos of ideas of what to do. We started, during the pandemic, and fun activities for the kids to do at home. But of course, now that it's summer and our families are looking for more ideas of what to do with their kids, there's a lot of resources on our YouTube channel. And 124 of those videos are our Lunch and Learns that we've already recorded and uploaded. We have a whole playlist dedicated to it. We love every single guest speaker, so you're always welcome to go back and check on those resources. And this is our 125th Lunch and Learn. Can't believe it. And I'm going to pass it off to Dana Hoff, our co-founder and executive director, who will introduce our guest speakers today.
Thank you, Rebecca. I honestly can't believe that we're in July, you guys. I just feel really extra touched by just looking out at you guys as a group and thinking how far that we've come together is just absolutely incredible to me. Kind of feel like sharing a couple things. I like to give the big picture of Autism Tree. And, ever since the pandemic, we have grown so much in our ability to connect every week with friends and family and providers, people that work with autism all over the country and the world now, which on this call, Jeff's coming in from Massachusetts, Jeff's coming in from Kansas, and I flew in yesterday from El Paso. I had not been to Texas before. I now know it's very, very close to New Mexico. And I had the opportunity to organically meet with 2 new moms. One little girl just got diagnosed, and the other one, little boy, got diagnosed a year ago. So these are brand new moms. And it really touched me in many ways. But one was that the one mom, I met with her not yesterday, the day before. She had come to our virtual parents happy hour on Friday. And that just really lit me up. Sometimes we do so much. We do, 200 events a year that are calendared. I think we're at 170 right now, but we just are constantly updating our calendars. So we'll definitely get there. And you forget like the actual impact and someone that went to something for the first time and how life-changing it was. And it really just kind of brought tears to my eyes thinking, wow, I need whoever, I know it's our Erica is new to our team and she ran it. And it just meant so much to this new mom to meet other parents she just hadn't before. And, there's other parents in in the area she lives. The mom that other mom I met, they live in the same area, and their kids can be partners and friends together. So, we worked really hard as an organization with our board. It's our 20th anniversary, and we really sometimes in 20 years trying to do everything. And what we're doing now is, yes, we're doing a lot, but it all comes down to our 4 core pillars, which is embracing every family, connecting every family to resources, empowering every family, and creating opportunities for wherever the person who's neurodiverse is. And I look out and I see Thomas, and I think, I'm so excited, Thomas, about all that we've had happen since we met you. And Thomas has done a lunch and learn before. So any of you that want to know Thomas more, you can listen to his lunch and learn. He's going to be featured on our Neuroscience Living Autistically panel, which Jeff, who's on here, I want to say thank you, Jeff, for moderating that panel this year, which Terrence is on here. And we all told you we haven't seen him in a long time, and we're thrilled Terrence is here, and he just finished his first classes at Berklee School of Music, which is fully incredible. And he is a past person that was featured on our Living Autistically panel along with Jeff in past years. So there's just so much going on here that I just want you to know. I see you, I feel you, and I just love what Rebecca and I get to do every day with really making sure that our core mission, our core pillars is, I could tell you without any hesitation, I'd like to say, nailing it every day. When I see these opportunities opening up all the time with Thomas and Terrence and Jeff, it's everything we want to happen. And so now we're on our 2nd generation of kids. And I think it's no accident today that our speakers are really in our community at the front lines with foster families and foster children. And a lot of those children do have autism. And I think that it's a huge blessing that we're all here together. I feel so much of a heartbeat, a really big heartbeat with all of us, of just like, I love it. Like, of course, we want to try to help part of our community and these foster children that are neurodiverse. And so I just want to give everyone deep gratitude, because I feel so much love from you right now, just being on here. It just means so much. And I had told Paul and, oh my gosh, why am I blanking? I can't see you. Both of our speakers, the first time I ever met, I was so impressed with the executive director who you're going to meet from this foundation, that I said, I hope we have a long-term relationship. So we both on our pre-call were so excited to just really work today on that. And so I think this is a great team effort of how can we do more together with this organization and have our eyes more open with any families that we might know in the foster system. Sometimes, you don't realize something's right around you until you have awareness. And I think that's definitely what's going to happen today. So it's with deep gratitude. I want to turn it over to our speakers today and just say, I don't know, I feel extra love for each of you that are here today, and just for all the work and all the progress that we've made. And just know these lunch and learns are something that we use as a resource every day in ways we didn't even realize we would. So thank you, guys.
Paul, we'll go ahead and hand it off to you. You'll kick it off.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Hello, everybody. It's so lovely to be here with each of you today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quickly. There we go. Okay. Excuse the little, let's see, we're going to get that screen share so we can get to the beginning of our presentation. Can we all see the presentation? Can I get a thumbs up real quickly? Perfect. Okay. Again, good afternoon, everybody. I think, yeah, it's 12:15. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting Voices for Children to come out and speak to you today about the court-appointed special advocate role and the ways that we advocate for all of our foster youth in San Diego County, but especially our neurodiverse youth and youth with ASD. My name is Paul Ammons, and I am the CASA Outreach Coordinator with Voices for Children's CASA Recruitment and Outreach Team. You may notice I look a little bit different than the person who was originally on the flyer, and that is because, yes, I am a different person. So Nicole Cook, who is our Director of CASA Recruitment and Outreach, was unable to come today, and so I am here in her stead, and I hope that I can share as much information with you just as she would at any time during our presentations. So my role at Voices for Children is to spearhead our community outreach efforts. On average, we look to recruit about 200 CASAs, new CASAs each year, and we are all over the county. We recruit from across the county, and I always like to coordinate with CASAs, both current and former, to help us staff our booths out in the community at local festivals and events, and to also present at presentations like these and our info sessions for those who are interested in the CASA role. I'm going to go ahead and toss it off to our other presenter, Chelsea, to talk a little bit about herself.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having us this afternoon. I almost said this morning, this afternoon. My name is Chelsea Shaw and I'm an advocacy supervisor here at Voices for Children. Just to give you a little bit of my background, I previously was a therapeutic writing instructor at a therapeutic writing center here in San Diego, where I worked with many different children and adults with special needs and disabilities, one including autism spectrum disorder. I absolutely loved my time there. My students were my world. And I was so excited to bring my experience from that side over to the dependency side and help the foster youth in any way that I could. So thank you so much for having me today. We're very, very excited to be here.
Thank you, Chelsea. And just to give everybody that permission as well, again, I reiterate all of the ground rules that Rebecca mentioned as far as Zoom etiquette. I know some of us may be used to this, some of us are still getting accustomed depending on where you are. I encourage all of you to also ask questions in our chat. We love questions. We have much to share with you about the CASA role. And for those of you who are in different states, this is a national program. So there may be a CASA program in your state, and I'd be happy to send a link to put in your zip code and check if that's there. But we'd love to get all those questions and to provide you as much information as we can today. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So our mission at Voices for Children is to transform the lives of abused, abandoned, and neglected children by providing them with trained volunteer or appointed special advocates. Now, essentially, we believe that our CASAs play a vital role in the positive outcomes of youth in foster care, and we strive to serve every youth in foster care with the support and advocacy that they need. And just to give a bit of history about Voices for Children, as I read through the information and the story, the history about Autism Tree, it was similar to us, where 40 years ago in 1980, we had a volunteer, we had a lawyer and a social worker gather a group of volunteers and say, hello, we have 5 judges in our dependency court system, our foster care system, and all those judges have to process every single foster youth that comes to the system. That is hundreds of kids every year for 5 people to make life-changing critical decisions for them. So this lawyer and this social worker got this group of volunteers together, and they began to summarize these court reports and provide the best recommendations for them so they can make those critical decisions for the youth that they serve, that these judges serve. And we've been doing that since 1980, where it started out as a group project, and then we graduated our first class of CASA volunteers. Again, those are who we have today in 1983. So just to give you a bit about who we are, we recognize that need, just like some of our folks here at Autism Tree did, and said, let's go ahead and do something about it. And 43 years later, here we are. Now, we always like to provide a mix of medias, and so I love videos. I'm sure some of you love videos, and I believe this video will summarize exactly what the CASA role does. So here we'd like to share with you this video that will summarize exactly what that CASA role does and how they advocate for our youth.
Growing up can be tough. Children have school and homework, practices and games. There are doctor's appointments and detention halls. Making friends, keeping friends, discovering who they are and who they aren't. These times are transformative in a child's life story, and sometimes they can really be chaotic. That chaos of being a child only increases when a family is in distress. The normal winds of chaos become a storm, and sometimes, when a storm is so great, concern for a child's safety can lead to removal from their home. This is a hard time, It's complicated and painful. When a child is separated from their family because of abuse or neglect, they leave their normal and enter foster care. They are sent to a new home, often to a new school with new people, new everything. The aim is to strengthen the child and family and help in the healing process. But all that new, all those changes, it's a lot for anyone, let alone a child. They still have the school activities, the doctor's appointments, and the lessons to learn. But now court dates and check-ins with social workers quickly fill the calendar. And there's the pain of separation from their family, what they know and where they feel comfortable. There are hundreds of thousands of children and families who experience exhausting and isolating days, weeks, and even years like this. But there are ways to help. A court-appointed special advocate or a guardian ad litem volunteer, a CASA or GAL volunteer for short, helps make these times less tough. Children need a constant who is on their team. A CASA GAL volunteer champions their best interest amidst all the shuffle and works with others to get them home safely. These carefully screened, highly trained volunteers are a constant amidst the chaos. And although there are still tough days, there's someone standing up for and with the child, day in, day out. Someone who knows both the biological and foster parents, and their siblings, and the unique dynamics they share together. Someone who meets with the teachers, doctors, lawyers, and social workers to ensure the child's needs are being met and the family is connected to necessary resources. Someone who speaks for the child's best interests in court and is committed to the child being with their family whenever safely possible. Someone who the judge counts on for information and insight. Someone who cares about the child and just lets them be a kid. Someone by their side for the tough days, the great days, and the in-between days. This someone is so important. Each child who has experienced abuse or neglect needs this support. Someone to help them weather the storm, just someone to count on. And by volunteering your time, you can be this someone, their advocate, the powerful voice for their best interest. Be a CASA GAL volunteer.
And Chelsea and I are privileged. We work with around 900 volunteers like this who are active in San Diego every single day. And we are so, again, privileged and honored to listen to the stories and the ways that these people have just acted as that consistent and stable figure in the lives of our youth. And as we can see on the screen, it is important that our youth have that one stable and consistent figure in their lives, because there's many steps that will happen when a youth is separated from their family. So as we can see in the video, it summarizes this, but when there's evidence of abuse or neglect in a child's home, they'll be removed from that home and placed into foster care. And then the judge that is assigned to that case will appoint a CASA volunteer with that youth or group of siblings. So the CASA volunteer will meet with the youth regularly to learn more about them. It's not just necessarily what the bad things in their life, but what are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are their favorite foods? Where do they like to spend time? To really understand who that child or who that group of siblings is as a person. You meet regularly with them, and then you also become acquainted and meet regularly with the professionals on their cases. So this might be a little small, but there's many bubbles right here with, it's in the middle row, but just to read those out, some of the professionals that CASA works with are therapists, doctors, foster parents, biological family, CPS workers, teachers, attorneys on their case. I'm sure Chelsea can tell you about many more professionals that a CASA works with. That's just a short list. But that CASA is, again, that contact person between all those professionals who may not be in contact with each other to ensure that those professionals are meeting the best needs of the youth. Because the CASAs can then take all of that information, they can advocate for the best interests of that child in the courtroom, and they take all that information and submit them through court reports. So that judge will have all the information that they need to make the best decision for that youth. And ultimately, our CASAs are also there to support all of our children through those transitions. we'll talk about this before, but our youth will move many times. But the video talked about schools. The video talked about moving to different foster homes. They may receive new professionals on their cases, like social workers, like teachers. And ultimately, the goal of the CASA is to help that youth or to help that group of siblings find a permanent home that best meets their needs. That's always the goal, is to find a safe and permanent home for our youth, because that is where our youth best thrive. Now, we also know that many folks in this room may not be fully familiar with the foster care system, and that's completely fine. As a CASA volunteer, you do not have to have experience with the foster care system or professional experience working with youth to be a CASA, but we always like to give that context. So we believe that this statistic really captures that. So on average, a youth in foster care will move 4 times over the course of 3 years. I like to repeat that, 4 times over the course of 3 years. And I think about that in terms of my own life, where I'm from San Diego, the Normal Heights community, and I happen to have moved once in my childhood. And while there was a level of instability, I'm sure many of us are familiar with moving, that we have to get all of our things, take them to a new place. Ultimately, when I moved, I stayed with the same set of caregivers, my biological parents. I stayed at the same school, so I had the same teachers, I had the same friends. I stayed in the same neighborhood with the people I was familiar with. I even had some of the same medical professionals, the doctors who were familiar with my medical needs and what I needed. That's simply not the case for our youth. Every time, and I mean every time that they move, that means a new set of rules to get used to in their new placement as they get to know their new caregivers. Like the video said, our youth will oftentimes move schools. They will move throughout the county. I've seen youth move from all the way from Vista, North County, to Chula Vista in South Bay. That means new neighborhoods. They have to make new friends if they can't always stay in contact with the people from their first home. Oftentimes, our youth are also separated from their siblings, so they may have to go from different placements, and that is another level of the trauma that is experienced while our youth are in foster care. Our CASA, though, are one of the only consistent people in the lives of our youth. Every time that our youth will move placements, every time that our youth will move homes, that CASA will be there to stay with them through that transition and to advocate for their best needs during that time when they may not be able to do so for themselves. So while our CASAs cannot prevent the abuse from having happened to our youth, and they cannot prevent them from having entered the system, what they can do is to provide them with that stable and consistent presence and the advocacy that they need to thrive. Now, again, this is a volunteer opportunity. Our CASAs serve about 10 to 15 hours per month on their case. And we always like to distinguish that this is a different volunteer opportunity than we may be accustomed to, where some folks may show up to a school and paint a mural, or they may do a community feeding where they'll show up at a soup kitchen and one and done. Our CASA volunteer role is a little bit different. So there is a long-term commitment for all of our CASAs. We ask that all of our CASAs commit to staying on their case for at least 18 months so they can provide them that stable and consistent presence. And as we mentioned before, all of our CASAs are appointed to our youth by a juvenile court judge. What that means is that they have authority from the court to be in the lives of our youth. That also means that with that court authority, they can access information, again, critical, sensitive information about our youth to best advocate for our needs. I'm sure folks in this room are familiar with IEPs. Our CASAs actually oftentimes hold educational rights where they can advocate for the needs of our youth within IEP and sit in those meetings with counselors, with teachers, with administrators to ensure that they are meeting the best needs of our youth at that school. Our CASAs can also speak with doctors and access their medical information so that those doctors, again, have the information they need to make the best decisions for that youth. And they collaborate with all those people on their case to ensure that stability. And typically, our CASAs usually only have one case. So what that means is as a CASA, you'll be able to build that relationship with your youth or that group of siblings. There could be more than one youth on a case, and really get to know them and spend the most time with them. That's where the power of the CASA role comes in. Again, Chelsea may have stories with this, but we've seen judges that will look at that CASA report first. And our judges have a stack of papers that when they go into that courtroom and they have to read them, they will go to that CASA report first because it's a different color. And they know that that CASA has probably spent the most time with that youth or group of siblings than any of the other professionals on their cases, because that CASA has the time to dedicate to that group of siblings, to that child. Now, there are plenty of ways to get involved with Voices for Children. I know we talked a little bit about this with Rebecca, with Dana. My favorite one on recruitment is to become a CASA volunteer. And we can tell you, we always need CASAs. So on average, we typically have about 90 to 100 youth on the waiting list for a CASA volunteer. And there is a 4-step application process to become a CASA. So the first step is to just attend an info session. We have these about twice a month, and we also have recorded sessions if you cannot attend any of our pre-scheduled ones. And there will also be an interview and a training. So I mentioned before, there is a 35 to 40 hour training. We don't just assign you a youth and say, have fun, go for it. We want to ensure that you are prepared and have the support that you need to provide the best advocacy for that youth. And so if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I work with our recruitment team, and I would be happy to give you that information. You can also connect us with other companies. So on recruitment, we are always looking to spread an awareness about who we are. You would think that having been around for 40 years, we would be able to find volunteers. That's not always the case. Maybe we need to talk to many people and find those ones who are ready to make that commitment and who are ready to take on this role. And so if you know any other groups who would be interested to hear from us, this could be small groups of 5, it could be a book club, it could be a corporation, a company. Please let us know, contact us. Your best contact will be Nicole Cook. I'd be happy to put her email in, and we can figure out how to best partner with you to spread that awareness. We also have plenty of events throughout the year, specifically that are sponsored through our philanthropy team. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and around 80% of our funding does come from private donors. And so we always need folks to just attend our events to provide us with that financial support. There's also other events you can attend that don't require that. Specifically, we have called Real Word Youth Panels, where we have a group of current and former foster youth who share about their experiences with public audiences. And we'd be happy to send you any of those Zoom links when they come around, because we'd love to have you attend. And lastly, if any of you are on social media, we do have an active social media presence on Facebook. Let me see, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We may have had a Twitter, check on that, but all 4 of those. And if you share actively on those, actively participate, that's really easy. All you have to do is click a button and share. We've had people find out about the CASA program and go on to commit to being matched with a case because of that one post. And so that's all it takes. So you're more than welcome to follow us. Just look up Voices for Children and our name should come up, and you can get all of our content that's regularly updated. Now that is it for me. I like to say I have all the boring parts of the presentation. I'm sure many of you want to hear about how this looks in real time. And that is where we have Chelsea come in. So again, Chelsea mentioned this, that she is an advocacy supervisor. Our advocacy supervisors are the staff people that will supervise our volunteers, ensure they have that support. So typically they have about 30 to 40 cases. That means Chelsea's in regular contact with 30 to 40 CASAs who supervise and advocate for the best interests of their youth. And she will share a little bit about how our CASAs have advocated for youth specifically with ASD. So Chelsea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul. I love that you basically just did my introduction. That was wonderful.
Sorry.
I love that. So basically what Paul said, the advocacy supervisor, our role really in one word is support. We are the support role, and we provide support to all of our CASAs, which can range between 30 to 40 CASAs. That doesn't necessarily mean that we only have 30 to 40 cases, because sometimes CASAs have sibling groups. So that number can exceed 40 very quickly. But the support role is a really rewarding one. I love it. And I'm excited to share a couple of stories from some of my own cases that I have experienced, my CASAs, that are specific to ASD. So first I'm going to share, by the way, I just will mention I have renamed these kiddos to protect their privacy and confidentiality. So these are not their names, but I'll go ahead and share these stories with you. So my first kiddo is Nicholas, and Nicholas is a young boy who was neglected of basic necessities early on in life. And he was assigned a CASA shortly after coming into the dependency side. The CASA spent time visiting with Nicholas over Zoom, which typically we want in-person visits, but due to being denied basic necessities early in life, Nicholas suffered a lot of medical conditions and was very immunocompromised. So in-person visits were not safe. So we did Zoom visits for probably the first 6 months to a year. Over that time, the CASA worked with the caregiver to make sure that all of his medical needs were being addressed. The CASA and caregiver watched Nicholas progress over that time health-wise, but had concerns since Nicholas was still having a lot of trouble speaking and was essentially nonverbal. The CASA and the caregiver worked together to have Nicholas evaluated for autism spectrum disorder. The results revealed that he was determined to have ASD. The CASA was able to advocate for things such as he is now a client with San Diego Regional Center and has an individual program plan, an IPP. And she also advocated for an individualized education program, an IEP, which Paul mentioned earlier, which he currently has in place as he started school, and make sure he has the services kind of put in place to make sure he succeeds. Again, as Paul noted earlier, the CASA is able to advocate for medical, developmental, and educational needs. So the CASA was very, very beneficial in all those ways for Nicholas. And just to give a little update on Nicholas and where he is now, he is still assigned a CASA and doing absolutely wonderful and still getting all of the services and resources that the CASA has put in place, and he is thriving. So that is just one of the cases that I've experienced. And I'll share another one with you with a young girl who we will call Cindy. And Cindy is a middle school age girl who had spent years in a hostile home environment. After becoming a dependent of the court in her preteen years and being placed with a caregiver, Cindy was assigned a CASA. Cindy and her CASA have bonded over their time together through their love for animals and the outdoors. The CASA reports that Cindy really loves their outings where they spend time together at local parks. They've done a special outing at the zoo where she absolutely loved the animals. And one of her favorite things to do is to actually feed the ducks at the park. It's like her favorite thing. I think that's so cute. So they really love spending time doing that together. So Cindy's CASA previously had volunteered at a therapeutic riding center locally here in San Diego, not the same one that I worked at, but a different one. And she had experience working with kiddos and adults with special needs and disabilities. After several visits with Cindy, the CASA had observed some behaviors that were similar to some of the children she had worked with at the therapeutic riding center. She noted this to me, her advocacy supervisor, and she believed that Cindy was displaying stimming behaviors. The CASA noticed that Cindy was stimming with hand motions and gestures when she was anxious or upset. She also had observed what she believed to be singing stimming when trying to focus. While stimming doesn't necessarily mean an individual has ASD, the CASA wanted to advocate for Cindy to be evaluated so that she wasn't missing out on any services or resources that may benefit her. This concern was brought to the assigned social worker, who we all work very closely with, and the assigned social worker pushed a referral to have Cindy evaluated. Once Cindy was evaluated, it was determined that she does in fact have ASD. Currently, the CASA is in the process of working with the social worker to get different services and resources for Cindy, which we're hoping to get her into the San Diego Regional Center to get those services in place, as well as potentially getting her involved in the Therapeutic Riding Center, since Cindy loves animals and the outdoors, and also since the volunteer and myself have both seen the benefits that has with kiddos with ASD. So in the meantime, right now they're still enjoying their outings, and we are hoping to get those services in place. And I want to add that we feel very lucky to have found Autism Tree, which we feel will provide another amazing resources for so many of our kiddos in dependency. So those are the two cases I had to share. I also want to add that our CASAs, on top of advocating for developmental, medical, educational needs, they do so much. They really do so much. I can't say enough about just all the amazing things they do as far as even just providing support, a constant person, a role model in a kiddo's life, somebody to teach a young teen how to become an adult. Somebody who can help advocate for getting school supplies, or maybe new clothes, or maybe getting to see their sibling and do a special outing together and make a memory together. They just do so much and have such a wonderful role, and we are so excited to share just a little bit about what our CASAs do. So thank you so much.
We get a quick round of applause for Chelsea. And Chelsea, I'm just very curious as well. I know you talked about some of the ways that your CASA advocated. I know many of our folks here probably collaborate with different agencies in San Diego. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the agencies that your CASA has collaborated with to secure the resources that your youth needed?
As far as which CASA are you referring to? Are you referring to Cindy's CASA or Nicholas's CASA?
Both of them, or just any of the agencies that you've seen.
So both CASAs have really worked closely, honestly, with HHSA, with the social workers. Those are who they work the closest with to get services put into place. Also, I know with Nicholas's CASA, it works very closely with doctors and whatnot. That's been a very traumatic experience for the kiddo and a lot going on in that. But we have a lot of different agencies that we work with, and with Cindy's case, we're still navigating that one currently. So that's kind of on pause right now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Chelsea. The other one I'll plug too is that I know I've worked with CASAs who have worked directly with San Diego Regional Center and have actually been able to secure regional center services. I don't know if anyone here has worked with Regional Center. It is difficult for you to get services from them. And so we had a CASA who was able to collaborate with the counselors on his case so that his youth will have those services for the rest of his life. And it just took that one person to really be in the middle and say, like, my youth needs this, my youth needs the support. So yes, thank you so much, Chelsea. It looks like we have a couple of minutes left. So I mentioned, we love questions. And so I'm also going to plug, I believe Nora was here. Maybe Nora left. Nora's here. I still see her. I'm just going to put her on the spot. Say hi, Nora. Nora is one of our program managers at Voices for Children. And so we are so happy to have her here today as well. But if any of you have questions for either myself or any of our two advocacy staff, we are more than happy to field those now.
You can also type your question into the chat. I can read it for you if you find yourself unable to unmute yourself. But while we're waiting for that, Nora, I'd love to have you speak about your experience a little bit. Voices.
Hi, everyone. Actually, just here to support my wonderful team, which is include Chelsea and my coworker Paul. But I am happy to speak up. First of all, thank you so much for everything you do. I learned a lot about your organization from Chelsea. So this is wonderful what you really do for the community, and I'm sure it's a lot of areas where our organization is overlap. But talking, and I know you had a presentation for our advocates and for our staff members. I was there and I really loved it. So, but a little bit about me. I am sorry about the background. My children are on summer vacation. This is why I was muted the whole time. But so I am a program manager at Voices for Children. I have a very lovely team, including Chelsea. I'm working with very passionate advocacy supervisors who are working directly with CASAs, and the CASAs working directly with the children. And as Chelsea mentioned, we have a lot of kids who have autism spectrum disorder or other disabilities. And we always try to find the best resources for them, for the caregivers, for the biological parents sometimes, and especially, help our advocates to find and connect them with the best resources. And they really need this because we would like to provide the children as much as normalcy as we can while they are in the system. And if you think then a child who is not in the dependency system can have resources a little bit easier available than the kids who are in the dependency system, just because they have so many other services they need to complete. And when we find a resource in a community that we can lead our CASAs and they can lead our children, we are always very grateful just to provide that kind of normalcy and to make sure that they use all of the resources that's out there. It's super important for us. So again, like your organization is one of our community partners who we try to link our children with, and we're also gonna spread the word about your organization and hope it's vice versa, because again, the kids we are advocating for, they really need it. And just I went on your website a little bit and see that you have so many events. So if our kids who are in autism or who has autism spectrum disorder can attend those events, that's also something very special for them. So I'm sure Chelsea will talk more about it, like specific cases or specific children, of course, always like focusing on confidentiality, but that's something that we can really use. So if you have any question, I'm really happy to answer. But I think that's also, I really believe that this, cooperation is very beneficial for both of us.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Nora. We'll let Nora go because she has kids to watch. I'll also shout out, Nora also worked at the CASA program in New Jersey. So she's got a wealth of experience on working on both sides of the country. And so we are so happy to have her with us at Voices for Children. I want to address a question in the chat. So Tamar asked, what are the qualifications to be a CASA volunteer? So I'll go over the eligibility first. So we ask that all of our CASAs are at least 21 years old and that they have access to their own vehicle. And so the reason that they require that access to a vehicle is because you're handling sensitive documents. And so I want to make sure that we can preserve that confidentiality, and documents may get shuffled around if we use public transportation. So it's a little bit dicey, so we just require that. And I'm sure many of us are aware who live in San Diego County. This is a large county. And so we want to ensure that you have transportation that's accessible to take you to wherever you need to go, because we do serve all youth in the county. As far as there is a list of other requirements that we have, and if you go on our website, then you're more than welcome to see those. Some of the ones that come to mind, I mentioned access to a vehicle. So you have to commit to at least 18 months, serving 10 to 15 hours on a case per month, attending court hearings every 6 months. And again, they only happen every 6 months. And then there's also typically a daytime meeting that happens about once or twice a month. So I know I just blew through those, but there's plenty of information that we share in our info sessions. And if you are more than welcome to attend an info session, not a commitment to volunteer, but just if you want to learn more.
And how do they find those info sessions? I know you said you had recorded ones too.
That is a wonderful question. What I will do is I should have had this prepped. This question always gets asked. So what I'm doing is I'm going to copy a link and I'm going to put it in the Zoom chat right now. 1, 2, 3, boom. Okay. So if you click on that link, you can go and schedule an info session. I believe the next ones will be July 12th and July 27th, and those will both be on Zoom.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We do send out a recap email, Paul, to everyone who attended this Lunch and Learn today and everyone in our community with a link to this recording and any other additional resources that you and Chelsea might want to share. feel free to include them, send them to me via email, and I'll include them in the recap email.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
I wanted to say something to Chelsea. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Chelsea, I think we need to meet in person. Then I'll really, like, I've only met you virtually. I need to meet you in person. And I'm better when I think, you know, Voices for Children, I definitely have friends that are CASAs. My niece has actually adopted 2 sets of foster children, like 3 siblings, 2 times now. And I'm wondering, I was just curious, what is the average length of a CASA to follow a child?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, Nora, what do you think the average is? Because mine is all over the board. Nora, do you have a better answer for that?
I think so. I do have. So the 18 months, that's kind of the average length of the cases. This is why we ask the CASAs to stick with us for 18 months, because that's the average length of the cases. It definitely can vary on case by case basis, but that's the average.
Yeah, I've seen cases last about 2 years, 2.5 years. That's what I've seen over the 2 years that I've been here. So, but again, if there's questions about if your 18 months are up and you're like, I don't know, well, we can have a conversation about that. What we see is that for our CASAs, when we ask that 18-month commitment, they'll finish the 18 months and they say, I need to finish. I can't just leave this. So that's why it's typically like 2 years, 2.5 years. But we do require that 18 months. And so if there's for some reason the 18 months is all you can do, that's totally fine. That's what we ask our volunteers. And it'll just be a conversation.
Mhm.
So I would add that, if I can add.
Yeah, please.
Again, I was not prepared, so I'm just really like,
You're good.
my coworkers here. But so I would say, you know, the reason is why we really would like the CASAs to stay with the children or advocate for the children as the length of the cases, because sometimes CASA, as Paul mentioned, the only consistent person in that child life, why the child is in the dependency system. And so, you know, we would like the advocates to stick with them until they find permanency, so they won't re-traumatize the children, because, you know, social workers changing, the minors attorney could change, professionals changing like therapists or any other professionals, but CASA is a consistent person. So it's very important for them to stick with the child until the child finds permanency. So it's just a little addition. So why we asking for this 18 months?
Yeah, we don't pull this number out of a hat. We just decide and say, hey, 18 months sounds great. This is really a child-centered policy so that they can have that person. Because what we want to avoid is that they're just like any of these other adults that come and go. So that's why we ask for that 18 months. Yeah, Chelsea, it's like,
Yeah, I'll add this too. So I without putting too much information out there, I have one case that's very special to me. That the CASA has been on, we'll just say the CASA has been on for well over 3 years. And the child has been placed in more than 10 plus placements. And every professional has changed so many times, and this CASA refuses to leave. The CASA is literally the only constant in this child's life. And so it's just been, I'm so thankful for that CASA. I'm so thankful because it's just really, that's all that child has. So it's wonderful to see. It's why it's kind of hard for me to answer that question, because I have so many CASAs that I've seen stay past the 18 months and they just want to continue on with the child. So typically, yes, we ask our CASA stay for 18 months, but you'll see them continue to go on if the case goes on and on. So
yeah.
hope that works.
Well, I think what I want you to know is that I hope somehow, even if we just start with one family, because that's kind of what we do, one family at a time, is like with a CASA and one family, I think it would be really beautiful, because Autism Tree is like a family to any neurodiverse person at any age. And we really don't have like a lot of attrition. So, once we can really get involved, I know these children are at different ages, but it would be really my hope, like to be able to help some of these foster kids that are neurodiverse to actually become actual part of our family, and it not be that they would have, somehow we could figure out how they, no matter what age they are, maybe by just somehow being a little bit more integrated, maybe, So if the CASA goes away at 18 months or 2 years, somehow we can still be part of a family to them.
Right. What I'm hearing is more stable, consistent adults. I think we can all have many consistent, stable adults that one's great, but we need a village. And so if we
Yeah.
can work together to provide that village of stability, consistency, only good will come out of that. So
Yeah, and the CASAs can, if they, for especially Chelsea, for your one that's so dedicated to that child, I can only imagine the challenges. It's like trying to be, an actual parent level of commitment that they're having. So if any of those classes that are really trying to help a child with IEPs and regional center and all those kind of things, they'll probably feel really a lot of I don't know, just a warm hug from other parents, like at our parent mentor program, which isn't just attended by parents, but it's also attended by people that work as therapists and such. So I think, I just want to make sure everyone hears this, because I think that I would like to see us somehow be able to meet more CASAs and help them helping neurodiverse kids, and have even one neurodiverse foster kid actually feel like Autism Tree is a family for them. No, I think starting just with one would be a great, great opportunity. And I really love the turnout today. And I think I hope Chelsea and Paul and Nora that you feel what really drives Autism Tree is it really honestly is a heart connection. My husband and I started Autism Tree 20 years ago because our own son was diagnosed with autism. And so it's just one heart to another. And what really makes me feel the most blessed sometimes is that a lot of people that are involved in our community, like you guys are, you're doing this, your classes because they have a heart connection and to the kids. So I think it's really remarkable. Sometimes, we get so slammed with all the crazy in the world, but right here, I look at the whole screen and everyone's just so present of giving back. This is a whole screen of givers, not takers. And I just want you to know, I think so highly of what you're doing. And I really think there's no accidents. I think there's probably some CASA and child that were meant to just give a huge warm embrace and try to help navigate.
thank you, Dana. And I just want to comment on Chip's comment. So Chip is also a CASA. I don't know if anyone saw that. Chip was a CASA. And we also always encourage our CASAs, even after their cases ends, to stay involved with that child's life or with that group of siblings, because we want to ensure that there's that stable and consistent presence. So I also just want to recognize it is 12:58. We have 2 more minutes till this ends. So does anybody have any questions that either Chelsea or myself can answer? We'll take the onus off Nora. Nora's got kids to care for. But any questions that we can take? Yeah, Jim.
I have a comment for you. If your relationship ends because there's a successful unification, you've done your job. And for that, you have to say, okay, I'm done.
Are you asking if the relationship, when the CASA duty essentially is done and the relationship ends, are you asking, do you just walk away in that sense?
Yeah, here's the thing. I have gotten telephone calls and I have gotten Facebook messages that they want to continue the relationship. You can't do that because you're no longer, a pivotal part of their life. You've done your job. They're back with mom or mom and dad, hopefully. And it's now, you have to fade out. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you have a fiduciary responsibility to that child to make sure that you have to give that child a chance to reconnect. And sometimes by staying in the picture, I think that could be counterproductive.
Yeah. And to that point as well, and I'm sure, Chelsea, you may have encountered this on some of your cases, but we'll encourage our CASAs to maintain a relationship. There's also some cases where our youth and their caregivers will say, I need to cut this off. Thank you so much for the time that you provided, but we no longer want to remember this time in the system, because it's for some of our youth and for many of our caregivers, it's one of the worst times in their lives. And so having that CASA there reminds them of that. And sometimes they'll respectfully close out that relationship. And other times those caregivers and that child may say, I love you. I really want to stay. We see both just as much. So, but Jip, you're right. Like the best thing that we can do, the best thing a CASA can do is that successful reunification, or the successful finding of a placement, a stable and permanent home, however that may look.
Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you again, Chelsea and Paul. This was so valuable. And I would love to take a group picture. It's our tradition. Everyone who's on here, thank you for being here today. So if you would like to share your camera, you're welcome to. All right, I'll do a countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1, smile.
Love it, Paul.
And I'm also going to put the contact information for my supervisor in the chat. So if any of you have any questions about the recruitment process, you're more than welcome to reach out to her. Her name is Nicole, and she'd be happy to provide you with that information.
Maybe we can also attach to the Lunch and Learn, since it's recorded and everything, and then we send it out. Your next series of informational calendar.
That would be lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm just going to also add this real quick. So for folks who are in different states, I just put in the link to the National CASA Gal Association. If you're more than welcome, you can put your zip code in and can see what the nearest CASA or Gal program is to you, if you're also interested in volunteering.
Perfect. I'll include that in the recap. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you all.
It was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Seeing everybody.
Good to see y'all.
Seeing you too.
Rebecca,
It
will you
was
stay on
nice.
with me?
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it.
Bye.